Welcome to Sophie Daddy's channel. So, you've probably seen the term Web3 floating around, right? But what does it actually mean for your money, for your digital life? Well, today, we're going to break down how this next evolution of the internet is promising to reshape, well, pretty much everything, from finance to the very idea of ownership itself.
But before we dive in, let me ask you something. When you post a photo, buy an item in a video game, or even just browse a website, who's really in control of that stuff? Who owns it? Right now, I'm willing to bet the answer is not you. And that, right there, is the huge problem that Web3 is trying to solve.
Okay, to really get where we're going, we have to know where we've been. Think of the internet in a few distinct phases. First, there was Web 1.0 back in the 90s. That was the read-only web. We just looked at stuff. Then came Web 2.0, the read-write web of social media, where we all became creators. The catch? The platforms owned everything we made. Now, Web 3 is pushing for that next logical step, a read-write-own internet. It's a world where we're not just users, but actual owners.
So here's the game plan for today. We're going to kick things off with the big shift in ownership. Then we'll get into its biggest use case right now, DeFi or decentralized finance. After that, we'll talk about what all this means for you as an investor. And finally, we'll look at the very real challenges that are still on the road to this thing going mainstream.
All right, so first up, the ownership revolution. Before we can even touch on new ways to invest, we have to wrap our heads around the new foundation that's being built. And this is way more than just tech. It's a massive philosophical change in who holds the power online.
So at its heart, Web3 is really this big idea for a new kind of internet. It's built on things like decentralization and blockchain, all working toward one single goal: taking the power held by a few giant companies and handing it back to us, the users. The key thing to remember here isn't just the tech, it's the move to real, honest-to-goodness user ownership.
And this whole vision really stands on 5 key pillars. You've got decentralization, which just means no one person or company is in charge. Trustlessness, which sounds weird, but it means you trust the math and the open code, not some corporation's empty promise. Verifiable ownership, which means your digital stuff is provably yours. And finally, it's permissionless and community governed, so anyone can join in and actually have a say in how things are run. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because look at this contrast. In Web 2, the internet we use every day, your data is the product. Your identity is just an account that can be deleted. You're basically a consumer. But in Web 3, the goal is for you to control your data. Your identity is a wallet that you own. And your role totally changes from just being a user to being an owner and a participant. Huge difference.
Okay, now let's see how this idea of ownership is being used to build the most powerful thing in Web3 today: decentralized finance. And look, this isn't just a new app or product. It's a serious attempt to build a completely new, open, and global financial system right from scratch.
So what DeFi does is it takes all those core ideas from Web3 and applies them directly to money. The whole point is to replace the traditional system, which, let's be honest, can feel like a black box run by middlemen, with something that's totally transparent, automated, and open to anyone who has an internet connection. I love this slide because it shows the core difference in philosophy perfectly. Traditional finance is a black box, right? You trust your bank, but you can't actually see what's happening inside. DeFi, on the other hand, wants to be a glass box because it all runs on public blockchains. Literally anyone can go and check the transactions and audit the code. The trust shifts from a brand's reputation to the cold, hard certainty of the code itself. And this table breaks it down even more clearly. Banks, they're centralized gatekeepers. DeFi protocols, they're peer-to-peer networks. Getting a bank account requires permission. Getting into DeFi just requires a crypto wallet. And maybe the biggest one of all, a bank holds your money for you. In DeFi, you hold your money. Oh, and the system never sleeps. It's running 24/7, 365. You know, the really cool thing about DeFi is how all the pieces fit together. People call them money Legos. You start with the basic blocks, like decentralized exchanges for trading. Then you can snap on lending protocols to earn interest or borrow. And on top of that, you can get into more advanced stuff like staking, where you help secure a network and earn rewards for it. You can combine these Legos to build some really interesting financial strategies. Okay, so we've got the architecture and the financial system down. Now let's bring it home. What does this all mean for you, the investor? Well, your role is about to change. A lot. You're going from just buying and selling to actually participating in how the market works. If there is one thing you remember from this entire explainer, let it be this phrase: not your keys, not your crypto. It's the core mantra of this whole space. If an exchange is holding your crypto for you, you're just trusting them not to lose it. If you hold the keys, you have absolute, undeniable control.
And that leads us to a really important trade-off. Self-custody gives you that total control we've been talking about. But, and this is a big but, it comes with total responsibility. If you lose your keys, there's no 1-800 number to call. Your funds are gone. Custodial services are definitely easier, but they bring back the exact same risks and trust issues that Web3 was created to get away from.
The opportunities here are just so much bigger than just buying Bitcoin. You can invest directly in the networks themselves like Ethereum or Solana. You can get exposure through stocks of crypto companies. You can become an active participant by providing liquidity to an exchange to earn fees. You can join community-run investment funds or dive into everything from digital art to tokenized real estate. It's a whole new world. But, and you knew this was coming, with all this new power and opportunity comes a whole new set of pretty unfamiliar risks. The potential upside can be huge, for sure, but the potential for losing everything if you're not careful is also very, very real. This is not your grandfather's stock market.
Okay, pay attention because this slide is incredibly important. For every new risk, there's a way to protect yourself. Protecting your keys with a hardware wallet, that's non-negotiable for any serious amount of money. You've got to check that the protocols you use have been audited for bugs. You have to be paranoid about scams. A simple burner wallet for trying new apps can save you from a total wipeout. And if you're providing liquidity, you have to understand what something called impermanent loss is first.
All right, final section. Let's zoom out. This tech is revolutionary, no doubt, but it is far from perfect. So what's really standing in the way of everyone and their grandma using DeFi? And what does the future actually look like?
So right now, there are 3 really big hurdles. First is scalability. The networks can get super slow and crazy expensive when lots of people are using them. Second, the user experience. Let's be real, it's often way too complicated for the average person. And finally, regulatory uncertainty is like this giant cloud hanging over everything, making it risky for big money and everyday people to really dive in. But even with all those challenges, the big institutions are paying very close attention. The general feeling from firms like KPMG and EY is that a great convergence is coming. They see the potential here, and they all pretty much agree that clear, smart regulation is the one thing that will unlock the next huge wave of growth.
And this all points to the most likely future. It's probably not a future where DeFi totally destroys traditional finance. Instead, we're probably looking at a hybrid model, something people are starting to call CDFI. The idea is to take the best of both worlds, the easy-to-use, regulated side of the old system, and combine it with the transparency and efficiency of the new one.
And that leaves us with this final thought. Web3 presents this incredibly powerful vision of a financial system that's truly rebuilt from the ground up, owned by us, the users. But as the old guard steps into this new space and the new systems start to look a little more like the old ones, you have to ask, are we really watching a revolution unfold, or are the old power structures just getting a high-tech facelift? That is the multi-trillion-dollar question that we are all going to see answered over the next few years.